Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen DeNoon. You're watching Israeli News Live, and I can see already our lighting system is absolutely atrocious right now. Give me 1 second, guys. The office is completely in disarray. Um, we are going through some changes in here. Still going to probably have a little bit bad lighting until I can fix this problem, and I can't even turn the chair around. Oh well, anyway, we're trying to get things more professionally set up, and we have actually moved part of our library to my office, which my office is very small. It's only like 12 by 12. Not very big. Anyway, we're going to be having a guest on tonight just in a little bit. We're not running our camera at this moment right now. We're actually running off of our phone system because of our live broadcast is majorly messed up. We've got a lot of great friends that are good at this. Brother Gary, up in, I always forget the state Brother Gary's from, but I know he's by Illinois, somewhere way out there. Michigan, I believe. But anyway, Missouri, something like that. Brother Gary, forgive me, I always forget. Anyway, him and his wife, Barb, they've always been such a help in our ministry, and he's even offered to come down here. But we've got such a complex system that we need to put together professionally, and finally, there's a guy that's really good at this, Bob Zillan, here in Orlando. He's retired from it, but got me in touch with the right people, and we're going to try to get an engineer in here next week. It's not going to be cheap, but we want you guys to have the very best of the broadcast that we can put out for you, because so many important things are happening in the world. And and by the way, too, the message I did the other day with President Trump, I know that really upset a lot of people. We knew that was going to happen. And maybe for those that it did upset, maybe you can understand the sincerity of our hearts in trying to tell you the truth. We realize that supporters will walk away from you if you're going to really tell the truth. So I apologize if I offended you. But at least I hope you know that I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. And as much as I wanted to see President Trump be the very best president there could be, this was very discouraging for me. And I will say, too, there's a lot of people I could tell never listened to the entire video. They kept talking about how that what he had done in his past shouldn't matter. I agree with that. When a person gives their life to Christ, what they've done in their past shouldn't matter. But if you pay attention to the video, there's no past to it. All the way up until July of 2019, the activities continue to go on, and that's just a little drop in the bucket. Friends, the truth of the matter is, even when I worked with the CIA, it's both Democrat and Republicans that are guilty. And then when people talk about Hillary, you guys forget Hillary's his cousin. Do you think he was really going to put her in jail? No, of course not. That's all a dog and pony show for us to fall for. So just kind of keep that in mind. Anyway, listen, before I bring our guest on here in a few minutes about Bolivia, I wanted to share with you this issue going on in Israel. And, you know, we got confirmation, by the way, from our Middle East source that the Iranians are supplying the weapons to Hezbollah, and Hezbollah, in turn, the more advanced rockets that go into to Gaza are being supplied by Hezbollah. So, yes, Iran is involved in supplying those rockets. And as I say, I'm not biased regardless of the side. And this here today, this video, this is from one of the cams there in Israel. You'll see here on your screen pop here, there's going to be a rocket. There it goes, right there. That's one of those Gaza rockets, lands right there on the edge of the road. And luckily, this was near Ashdod. Nobody was killed. Watch it again. There it goes. But you know what? That's probably akin to that of a suicide bomber's vest. Palestinian militants had vowed to avenge the death of the Islamic Jihad commander that was killed in Gaza in an Israeli airstrike. You're seeing now the remnants of that Israeli airstrike there that happened. It says the Iranian-backed militia group Islamic Jihad confirmed Baha Abu al-Atta that he was killed Of course, Israel accused him of masterminding the recent attacks against southern Israel. Hamas, Islamic jihadists, that did this. Now, Israel was calling on Hamas because this is an Al-Aqsa, this here, 3 Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigades militants that were killed by the IDF airstrike. These are the men that were killed right there. They are a different wing. They're not Hamas. It's a different wing altogether. In fact, this group here, the Al-Aqsa Mosque Martyrs Brigade, was the very ones that sent the suicide bomber in 2014 when I lived in Israel. Let me kind of show you here what I'm talking about. Some people don't know this, but I'll just show you just so you're able to see this for yourself. When you go to our channel right here, and you see this first image right here on your screen and this banner right here, this is the suicide bombing that I was actually in, but by the grace of God, my life was spared in that. And it was the Al-Aqsa Brigade that actually launched that attack near French Hill there. I actually lived very close to French Hill back in 2004, and that was, September, what was that? I forget now. It's been a long time ago. I'm starting to forget dates. That's not good. But anyway, that was the time that by God's grace, he spared my life over that one. But anyway, these 3 guys here were killed. It set off a wild barrage of attacks. Here's another example of a rocket that had fell through a house, came through the roof of a house. Luckily, though, as you can see, though, this was interesting. It shows you they don't have super sophisticated bombs yet. So they're not really getting a hold of everything that Iran has by no means, because it only just comes through the house. Even the pictures on the wall are not damaged as a result of that, which that's just kind of weird. I don't see how, unless the bomb didn't detonate. It says towns and villages across Israel are preparing for a night of violence after the more than 200 projectiles slammed into the Jewish state Tuesday following a raid that killed a wanted terrorist leader operating in the region. Israel is bracing for the continued violence as it carried out 3 waves of retaliatory strikes after the country was pounded by close to 200 rockets. You know, I mean, this is insane. It's insane what goes on, and it's both sides. I understand Israel's trying to take out a terrorist. Israel knows, though, when you take out a terrorist, the fanatics that are in there are going to just lob more and more rockets. And at the same time, the people in Gaza live in such horrendous conditions, and you don't see Israeli news ever bringing those things out. They don't want to bring out. If you follow our Twitter page, occasionally we retweet some of the tweets in there where children are killed or families are just thrown out of their home, and instead they put in Israeli settlers. No justifiable reason other than just, forcing the families out of their homes there. Now, Gaza's a lot different. You don't see that happening so much in Gaza. But nonetheless, there's a lot of oppression that they're going under. And I say this because, listen, friends, the God of Israel told our people not to oppress our neighbors. For we were oppressed once when we were down in Egypt. We were oppressed. We're supposed to know what it's like to be oppressed. And a lot of times the Jewish people in Israel, they'll say, never again. Speaking about the Holocaust, we were oppressed in the Holocaust as well. So then why would we want to treat Palestinians the way we were treated during the Holocaust? See, it makes no sense. We should have a compassion. And this is why I try to look at that middle of the road. But then again, it's not going to solve anything to fly 200 rockets or more over into Israel. So my Palestinian friends, I hear you. I understand what you're going through yourselves, but violence isn't going to, violence is only going to breed more violence. Somewhere that we got to stop. And more, it's Israelis that call out the crimes that are happening by the government itself. Of course, when Israel is targeting people that are known to bring about terror inside of Israel, I have to understand too what their purpose is. But I also realize that Israel the government that is, has created such a major mess, and it's many Israeli soldiers have come forward and spoken about this and tried to educate Christians, and not just Christians, but people around the world, of the oppression that the Palestinian people are going through, both in the West Bank and in Gaza as well. So there needs to be some changes on both sides. We can't do this to these people here, and yet at the same time, I cannot accept and condone the fact that Gaza is lobbing rockets into Israel. It's only going to bring down more hardship on the Palestinian people in Gaza, because Israel's going to retaliate. You know, if they had taken out the guy and you hadn't flown all the rockets in, that would have been the end of the story, right there. You know, but no, you had to fly in about 200 rockets. So now the Israeli military is really going to come down like a sledgehammer. And when they drop rockets, it's not like the one here in the picture where it just makes a little hole in the roof. When it goes down, it'll take down entire huge apartment buildings with one bomb. And I know the people of Gaza know this. I hope the jihadist leaders don't think that you're going to get more sympathy because of more deaths as a result. Please don't do that. Don't put the people of Gaza at risk like that. I mean, we truly need the coming of Yeshua. But you know, when Yeshua comes, he's coming with judgment. He's not coming with a pretty banner to say, oh, hello, guys. I guess, well, everything will be peaceful now. I'm here. I need to do a message on that. Anyway, let's continue on, though. The situation, Israel hit by rockets from Gaza. NBC, Gaza after the airstrike kills Islamic jihadic leader there. It's being covered all over the news. I know you guys knew about it. Of course, my phone just blowing up with all the rockets going off since earlier this morning. So it's been just a non-stop bombardment. I actually got this right here, this article here about Bolivia, sent to me by a good friend of mine, former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney. Sent me this. After Morales ousted in coup, lithium question looms large in Bolivia. That's exactly right. Bolivia is the second largest reserves of lithium, which these future cars that need the lithium ore to begin with in order to produce these electric cars, they need it. It's another coup. It's another U.S.-backed coup to overthrow another country in order to be able to get a hold of its natural resources. And we got in the wings waiting for us, Miranda Vuer, and we're going to be bringing her here in just a few moments there to discuss that. Her and her husband are expats in Bolivia. They've been there, if I'm not mistaken, either 5 or 7 years, something like that. She'll share that with us there. Her husband, they have a couple of children there as well. They're trying to get out of the country because of the violence that is going on there. And speaking of violence, let me just share this video here with you here on Twitter. This is a promise of a bloodbath starting tomorrow. They say mañana in there. They're talking about being tomorrow against those, calling them criminals, for those that did not join with them in the coup. It was a military coup to oust the president, who's been trying to bring his country back to some kind of normalcy. So let me see if we get Miranda on there. And we're going to also include in the description of this video, once it actually fully uploads there, I want to include a little link that they have there on a PayPal. They set up a funding there to try to help their family to if things get worse, to help get them out of the country. So that's up to you guys. However, the Lord leads you. If you want to help, you can be able to help them. But we'll place that in there for them as well. Let's see if we can get Miranda on the line now. It's always a little bit of a challenge over there. So let's see how this works out. Miranda.
Hi, Stephen.
Hey, we actually got you. We got your husband with you as well? There you go.
How you doing?
Doing great. You guys are live, by the way, just in case you didn't know that. So, well, y'all are a nice looking couple. Man, your husband uses the same razor I do, I see.
Yeah, low maintenance.
That's right, saves money, saves money. Anyway, you guys, of course, are in Bolivia, and I know our viewers are wanting to know what's going on. We had seen this morning where RT was talking about the lithium, Bolivia having the second largest lithium reserves in the world. And so to me, it seems to be a justification for a coup to overthrow this nation here. Bring us up to speed a little bit about what you guys have witnessed, how long you've been there, tell us about yourselves, things like that.
Okay. Well, to understand the situation fully, we probably have to start back when Evo Morales came into power in the first place. So we've been in Bolivia for 7 years, and the 7 years we have been here has been wonderful, peaceful. Inflation has been low, I think 3% or something like that. No noticeable changes in the prices for things we paid the whole time. It's been very peaceful. It's been great. That's why we stayed. We enjoy it a lot. And what happened was years ago, before Evo Morales was elected, there was a different party called the CC, and they had placed kind of a mess. In fact, before them, it was just a change of government every 4 years. And the thing is about down here, it's not the same as up there. Like in the United States, it's kind of just a different puppet, you know, no matter who gets elected, you're still gonna have your Medicaid, you're still gonna have your schools, you're still gonna have your social programs. Down here, when a new government's elected, everything changes, everything goes away. So they were tired of it changing every 4 years, and it was a mess. I mean, the DEA was down here doing the narco trafficking because coca leaves grow here. That's like one of the main places in the world that coca grows, and it's legal, and they export it. So the DEA
it's
was
legal there?
Well, not cocaine, but coca leaves.
Cocaine, but it's custom here. Everybody has a mouth. They look like a hamster. They have a mouthful of coca leaves. It's like all the cocoa farmers, people around. It's traditional here to use it. It's like coffee.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the U.S. definitely was very involved here, very heavily. And what happened was the government collapsed. I mean, they weren't doing things for the people. Right before, this would be around 2005, and the inflation was out of control. The poverty rate was 35% for extreme poverty rate. The moderate poverty rate was like 60%. And I mean, it was just crazy. And so the government failed to govern. So Evo Morales rose up. He was a cocoa farmer, and he rose up and he started getting a movement and momentum. And effectively, they overthrew the government, and they resigned. And it was now a lot of the way people would describe it is, it's not that he overthrew it as much as they couldn't govern. It collapsed on its own. For instance, the president, he had resigned. So the vice president was currently the president, and then yeah, and so it's kind of funny because the vice president who became president when the president resigned before Evo is coincidentally who's running for election now. So we'll speed things up. Everything's been wonderful. I mean, in his term, he's had all these social programs that have really helped the people. Like, for instance, they have like a housing program here where instead of like giving you a housing allowance, they've actually given plots of land to people and the materials to build their own house. So that's been a program. Free medical, universal health care, and it's very good. Like, even as expats, we qualify for it. And I've done private care. I've had a baby here. I've done private care and public care. And quite honestly, my public care experiences have been just as good, if not better, than the private care. And it's very affordable. I mean, I had an emergency C-section. Out of pocket was private care, $800. And
Oh, wow.
I could have done it at the public hospital for free, even as an expat, but I wanted my doctor, so I chose private. But anyway, I mean, we've gone in the middle of the night, had stitches on one of our children, free, no, nothing. So and a lot of the UN even said their healthcare model is an example for the whole world. We just had a root canal. I just had a root canal done, $20. And the dentist, brand new office, she's actually our neighbor. So, I mean, it was very good. And so anyway, things have been very good all this time. And then another social program I wanted to mention was They have this other program for pregnant women. When they're pregnant and also the first year of a child's life, they're given a subsidy of food. And it's very good food. It's like all the necessities of milk, yogurt, cheese, everything like that. It's similar to WIC, but they actually give the food, and it's in the amount of the minimum wage for the month. So, I mean, they're given a huge, huge lot of food, and it's enough to feed their whole family. It's more than what they would probably buy if they were spending out of pocket for the month. So what happens is if this new government comes into play, all of those social programs are at risk probably to be eliminated. And so the campaign started coming up, and one of the things I noticed is that this new government running against him, which was the government right before him, Carlos Mesa is the name of the person who ran, and they had no proposed plans for how to replace all of these social programs. And the people here, looking back on it now, there's been a lot of talk about Evo, and a lot of people acted like they didn't like him in this country, and you can tell now, looking back, that it was an organized coup. And back in 2006, right when Evo was coming in, it said that there was a military operation by the United States up a few hours north of La Paz in this town called Caranadi. It's like basically hidden deep in the Yungas mountains. And he said that there was a call for the U.S. troops to come in and invade, and that he had stopped it. Evo just put that out on his Twitter the other day. So the country was dependent on U.S. aid. Instead of any social programs internally, they were always dependent on U.S. help, and then also the natural resources is a big thing here. There is natural gas, which the natural gas reserves are kind of depleting a little bit, but there's lithium. And I would argue it might be the world's biggest supply. They say that Bolivia has 50 to 70% of the world's lithium here. And it's untapped. It's an untapped market. They haven't started extracting it yet. And actually, last week, he canceled an agreement. He was going to be extracting this and selling to Germany, but they canceled it in light of all of this. Now, the natural resources here, all of the external countries were reaping 85% of the profits before he became the president. And what he did that totally turned this economy around is he made it all internal operations. And then the country started gaining 85%.
Amazing.
And he also cut ties with the IMF bank. So that's an important thing. And then another important thing in this new opposition
That was
party,
the problem right there. When he cut ties with IMF bank, that's what brought, you guys probably have Mossad agents, CIA agents there. And let me ask you this, I'm curious. Has there been any talk amongst the locals, especially the indigenous people of the area there? Has there been talk about payouts to these people that are participating in these coups? We shared before I brought you on how that they're running through the streets with the police, according from what we're seeing, are handing out guns to the protesters, and they're threatening violence starting tomorrow to kill the people that would not join in with the coup.
Yeah. So the uprising's been very aggressive. There's actually a president called Camacho who's been leading all of this. And coincidentally, his family owns natural gas companies that lost control back in 2006. So.
Well, as far as the payoffs that you was asking about, the money difference here, money's hard up. People really live nice. They live in stuff that we can only hope to live in, big homes and stuff, but they was offering, but money's hard to find around here. But so I'm explaining why $50 is what they were buying votes for $50. And they would take a picture, of themselves and turn it in the picture, and they would receive $50. That's what's been going all around here as far as, that's what I've heard about the payoffs personally.
Yeah. We've seen a report saying that that the opposition was paying people $50 for their vote, and that what they had to do is take a picture of the ballot and turn it in to get reimbursement. And I would attest to that because everyone was sharing pictures on social media of their ballots and who they selected, which I thought was a little odd. But it's definitely higher payoffs than that because the police and the army turned like that. And in the OAS meeting today, it has been brought out that there's no way the Army and the police would turn so quickly unless this has been infiltrated for a number of years. So basically
true.
what happened on October 20th, the elections were, and if he was to win in the first round by a margin of 10%, there wouldn't be a second round. And what happened was it was very close. The results were around 90%, and it looked like he definitely won, but it was close to 8% margin, not the 10% he needed. And then what happened was they have what they call the immediate results and then the final results. Immediate results come that night, and it's a predictive, it's not concrete. And then the final results take 4 days. So the predictive results got stopped at 89%. But the thing is, in past elections, it only went to 70% or 80%. And they even had a press conference 4 days before saying that 80% is the amount they were going to go to. And they went above that to 89 and then stopped. Well, then the next day, everyone's like, why did this stop? Why did this stop? People didn't understand. So they said, okay, turn it back on and we'll tally the remaining. Now, this is very important, that remaining 5 or 10% of the votes was all from people who live very far away. The rural communities that didn't have internet to send in the pictures of their votes. So all of the remaining votes were going to be from country people. And notoriously, he has the support of all the country people. I mean, this country is 60% indigenous. Most of them are in the countryside, and that's his supporters. So everybody knew on Sunday night that once the rural votes were counted, he was probably going to get the 10% margin. However, the next day when it came out that it was the 10% margin, he won 47.8, I believe, and the other guy was 36 point something. It came out to 10.58% exactly. And everybody cried fraud. It was immediate. It was before things were even counted. The guy came on the news. He said, it's time to initiate the plan. So they already had a plan. And that the first phase was civil unrest. So the very first day they burnt down buildings. And it's very, yeah, federal buildings, police buildings. And then this is great too. They also burnt ballots of the votes.
Their own evidence of supposedly his fraud. They burnt the evidence to his fraud, which makes no sense. But so I'm thinking that it's something they were covering up for themselves.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So what happened is it's very important to note that none of those supporters were out the first 2 days of protest. It was simply the opposition entirely. And so for 2 days, they did all of that chaos and upheaval. And then on day 3, they said, all right, it's time to initiate phase 2 of the plan. And it's time for the nationwide strike. And that is when the nationwide strike began. And basically, the biggest part of that is that a lot of the government institutions are shut down right now, almost all of them at this point because of recent events. But there's blockades blocking every single road. You can't get from city to city.
Every 100 foot, there's a blockade.
Right.
You can get around motorbikes going up on sidewalks and stuff, but every 100 feet or so, there's and it depends. They got some people lined up, protesters, where they won't let you pass. You got to take another route. You can get around, but it's difficult.
Right.
Well,
And
you guys shared some photos with us. If you would on your end, if you can turn your volume down just a little bit, it'll make the sound come through a little bit better. I know it'll be a little harder for you to hear me, but it'll help a little bit. You don't have to turn it all the way down. But anyway, you guys actually sent me photos of the roads being blocked, and I remember when you first contacted me, and this was about a week ago. You, especially Miranda, you were very nervous, and rightfully so. Look at what's coming, and now there's, as I begin to look at this more today, watch it on social media, watch it on the news. You guys are in a very serious situation, and I do understand why the need is that you and your family are looking to try to leave this area. And I assume it's not because you would want to, but if you get the wrong guy in power, you know, they're threatening to kill anybody that didn't join in with them. This is terrible.
Well, the thing is too, Miranda here kind of shouted from the rooftops on social media, and we've had problems with our computers being the night we was trying to get a hold of you, our volume and everything, we couldn't get through on any of our electronics.
That went on as well.
Yes.
So we don't know right now. They're persecuting anybody that's in favor of him. So we don't know on that end what we should expect. So that makes us nervous on that end. Because like I said, she shot it from the rooftops.
And one thing that is very important is that 2 days ago, everything turned for the worse. 3 people have died so far, but on Sunday, the preliminary report came out suggesting that there was suspicious activity and a new election needed to be held. And everybody went crazy, and now Evo supporters have come out in droves and have invaded the cities, actually. And
That was last night. Tonight's pretty peaceful, but yesterday night they had 1,000+ people with machetes right down the road from us, to where it was a pretty weird situation. You stepped out the door, there's a fire. They have a fire with every family in the neighborhood out with 4x4s and sticks and broom handles, and I mean, from children to old ladies to hold off, defend the neighborhoods against the people coming in. I myself stepped out to defend myself because I don't know. I'm just a gringo in the middle of it, but I actually support the people coming in. I understand why they're angry, but at the same time, I gotta make sure my family's safe.
No, I understand that.
And, they ended up not coming our direction into just the city center, and they burnt down a police building, and they destroyed, I think, 7 police vehicles, and they burnt down some schools and hospitals. Today, there's just trash littered everywhere, and now it's still ongoing. I saw more vehicles of the police burnt today, and also the army is now on the street, so I guess it'd be considered martial law. Yesterday, they sent the army out in La Paz, and now they sent the army out here too.
Which would not do nothing. When the other people were doing it, the police would do nothing. They would do nothing, and they had like marches for the indigenous women, and they had children's on their back, and they literally came in with sticks and beat them. They've had people ripped from their homes. They've had kidnappings. They've had Evo resigned because they, I believe it was Potosi.
Potosi and other departments.
Potosi and other departments, but Potosi in particular was the one mentioned the most. But it was a friend of his. They had their family members were kidnapped. The brother of the one mayor, was it? Of the mayor was, they had him going through the plazas here, which is like a little park central to all the neighborhoods. They had him barefoot and dragging him, beat, and they called him up. They had that they were going to be killed unless he resigned, and that's when he resigned. That's when it all.
Well, and then the army turned the same day, and all of the commanders came out. The police rioted Friday, and they all turned. Basically, all of the commanders of all the police in all the departments, all the high-ups said that they're with the people for the protests. And then on Sunday, the army said the same thing, that we suggest you resign. So he didn't have support. Like in Venezuela, Maduro has always had support of his army. That's how he stayed there. With this, the army turned on him, and so he resigned so that more people didn't die.
And just to mention, I've never, this country itself, from living here, you will not, a little bit of money will take you a long way. You can, 100 Bs is how many? $20?
$15.
Could get you like, out of any trouble, out of, for instance, like we went to get our license here, and when we went, they're like, you don't have to take that test. You don't have to do, I've never seen, this is another thing, I've never seen white privilege. I've heard a lot of it. I don't like to get into it. It's stuff kind of just a turn off to me, but I've never seen white privilege until I lived here. You would not believe the special treatment you get the lighter skinned you are, and these people consider themselves white, the Spaniards. In the United States, I don't believe they would be considered that, but here they're white people and the others indigenous. There's a distinct line, and to me it's more cultural, because I can't hardly tell the difference in some, but I've never seen a prejudice like I've seen here. And also I found this interesting. Miranda's had some new on Twitter. On Twitter, the kids of the main guys doing the movement are doing Nazi salutes.
Okay, we got you.
So I got you back?
Yeah, we lost you just for a few seconds, but we could hear you the entire time, so that was great. Doing Nazi salutes.
Nazi salutes, I got them on camera, all doing them in unison, yeah.
they asked them, do you want to destroy the mass headquarters, which is the other party Evo's in, and then they have also, so the infiltration has been largely through the colleges, because if you see the
Catholic
pictures,
Church.
the Catholic Church has been a huge part. They're the ones, they started it, was at the bishops. And so also
So the
the
Catholic,
protesters are almost all children.
the Catholic bishops have played a key role in the protests that have overthrown this nation's
Major.
legally
Major role.
elected president.
Major role.
Let me ask you this: is there an Orthodox Jewish community also in Bolivia?
They're not allowed here.
No, yes,
Oh my.
there is in the past, but Apple made it very difficult for Israelis to come in here. Made it very difficult.
There was a law.
I took a trip out of this country for a little bit in Uruguay, and where I had met a whole bunch of Israelis, and they were all trying to get into Bolivia. This was 5 months ago, and they were saying they won't let us in, but we're getting in, and they left, and this was like groups of like military age males. So I always had suspicions, but it was groups of Israelis. I mean, they were staying at the same hotels as us.
Oh my goodness!
The Israeli tourism was huge here at one
Huge.
point. Like if you went to the Amazon jungle, you would find restaurants with their writing all in Israeli. Lopez too.
Their
And
menus, everything on the restaurants is Israeli.
not English either. There's not an option for English too. And I thought, well, that's really strange. And as it turned out, the Israelis were the biggest tourists here for years. And Evo felt like that was not good for the country. He felt like there was maybe some undercover ops going on. So he limited that to where basically Israelis had to really fight to even get tourism rights here. He had changed
I was just here recently.
that years ago.
That's another reason why probably the nation was targeted. I can tell you guys, and I don't know how long you've listened to our broadcast here, but I have one source very close connected to Mossad in Israel that was speaking to me specifically when we were looking at Venezuela, what was happening there. He told me specifically that the Mossad and the CIA had boots on the ground. They were there to overthrow the nation and to take the natural resources. So if Evo was concerned about the tourism with Israelis coming in, that could cause an infiltration in the country that would eventually bring the demise of the nation. And then, of course, you have the Catholic priests. They work hand in hand, glove in glove together when it comes to these events there. And it's all, of course, we'd have to say alleged at this point, but you guys are seeing the evidence on the ground. I definitely want to get you back on later next week if you're still there, because we got an engineer coming in to fix our live broadcast where we'll have a better operation here. But I want, for our listeners that are listening here, to the Boer, did I pronounce it right? Boer family, is that how you say your last name?
Yeah.
The Boer family
That's
here
correct.
down in Bolivia, live here tonight, telling us the things that are going on firsthand. And listen, we're going to have in the description, come back, check the video in about 30 minutes or so when it gets fully uploaded. We'll have a link. They set up a PayPal account there so that if things are going to get worse, they can raise the money to help get their family out of this country, back to the United States there. Pray about it, consider giving to help this family. And if for some reason, by God's grace, they're able to stay, listen, let's just bless them with an offering anyway, and then maybe they can help rebuild their life a little bit better there. But it's not looking very good for them. And especially with you guys being open about what you're saying, I have a feeling it's more of a bullseye on you than anything.
Yeah, the U.S. Embassy just changed the travel advisory from a level 2 to a level 3 in our city in La Paz, which basically means reconsider travel. If you go, you need to have evacuation plans. And all of the expats that we know, about 75% of them have already left. The land borders are closed. The flights have been decreased. The national flight company is decreased by 40%, and American Airlines decreased their traffic by 70% for dangerous to staff. So, I mean, it's getting pretty, and then with us, like, for a long time, we've had problems with our audio and things have been really strange on the Facebook groups when I spoke out against Evo. I literally had 40 people like mob attacking me for my views. And then we even had a phone call last night or Friday night come through at 4 a.m. And the next day I put the number into WhatsApp to see what it was, and it said it was a lieutenant, a police officer here in this town.
Wow.
However, I looked it up, and it shows that that's a scam that some people do here to try to extort money. But with all this going on, who knows? Because the police did turn, and they are targeting activists and journalists, but right now they're going for the higher-ups, mayors, governors.
Got their hands full right now.
Right, but we don't know if we're on there because, like I said, there's been some, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but we've even been victim of gang stalking, which I didn't realize this until the other day, honestly, where all these rumors kept coming to us a year ago, and it was crazy, but I found people listening in on computers, our neighbors were, and I don't want to go too far into it, but I don't know that it's really safe for us here, so that's why,
Yeah.
even us in particular, it's probably not a good idea to stay.
If you guys are coming back to America, what part of the country will you be coming to? Ohio.
Ohio.
Okay. All right.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna stop in Florida and go to Disney World. My aunt lives there, and since you fly into Florida, she works at Disney, we get it for free. And my little girls, I've got 2 little girls now. One was born here, she's Bolivian, but they've never seen Disney World. My son has several times, we used to go. So that's kind of like
We're in Orlando, so if you're coming to Orlando, we'd like to interview you in person if that's possible. So listen, you guys do what you can to help this family out. I think it's a real serious need. And you do, I asked Miranda earlier, you are able to donate anonymously, and maybe because of the situation that in that country, it might be a little better. You consider that, but however you feel led to do, that's up to you. But thank you, Miranda and Brother Boer, you coming on, talking to us tonight, and we appreciate it. You guys, I appreciate what you do because I know that's really sticking your neck out, especially in a country that's in the turmoil it is right now. And you know, that's commendable. It shows that you really care about what you believe in, to say the truth. And unfortunately, in America, there's so much propaganda that goes on. And I think that's how we actually got in touch with originally. And I won't call the guy's name, but there was somebody spreading the propaganda all across the world about Bolivia and making the president of Bolivia like he was some kind of evil socialist whatever, you know. And the man was a good man. I seen this when working with the CIA. We were dealing with Nicaragua at the time. And, you know, our government goes around overthrowing countries, plain as day. And there's always a reason. Back then we were dealing with it for drugs. They still do with it for drugs. And it's the same thing going on right now with the people up at the White House. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's still about the drugs. And in fact, I can't go into the details, but I had a congressperson share with me the connection the government made with the Sinaloa cartel, a deal they made with them to be the only supplier to the United States. That blew me away. Anyway, God bless you. Thank you guys for watching. Shalom, shalom. In a world of vain shalom, there is no peace.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.